Today we're assembling more of your automata box. Here is the assignment in Google Classroom. You're going to be adding more parts, the handle, the axle, followers, cams, and figures eventually. Here are two images, URL images that I'll show you in a moment. And here are the files of the parts that you're going to attach to your automata box, such as the bushings and the axle and so forth. So again, you'll have to download these onto your laptop and then upload them into your fusion360 program. So here's one example of a finished automata. You can see the figures on top supported by followers. Those followers are driven by these cams which reside on an axle, and there's a handle to move the axle. Here's another example of one. Again, you can see the figures supported by these followers underneath, which are driven by these cams, which are sitting on an axle, which is driven by this ship's wheel handle. You'll have a different looking handle probably. All right, so let's go into Fusion 360 to do this. If you start from this normal working space, click on the waffle to open your data panel. Double click on your automata box assembly that should be finished. And now we're going to add other parts. So what I'm going to suggest is we start with a follower. We're going to we're going to choose these, the axle bushing turns. So if you click on it and then right click on it and then insert into current design, you'll end up there. We do need another one. So since we're here at the moment, well, here, let's just move this one first. So I'm going to use this axis rotation, grab it, drag, type in the angle that we want. So this is a good one to go over here onto this side. Now let's add another one. I'm going to again click on the axle bushing turns in my data panel, right click on it, insert into current design. Again, it's not the direction I want to go, so I'm going to tilt it this way, type in the angle I want, and enter. Okay, so now this bushing can go into that hole, that bushing can go in that hole. Let's close the data panel for just a moment so we can put them in. All right, so let's see. We need to join this just like we joined pieces of your box assembly. So it's best to zoom in. So we're going to use the joint command, capture position to hold things where they are. But when we get into this window, you want to click on the motion tab because you want this bushing to be able to turn. So I'm going to come over here and choose on the revolute types of motion. It's not a rigid joint, it's a revolute one. I had to go back to the position tab. Now it's asking me to select the two pieces that will join. So I'm going to click on select. Then I'm going to come in here, probably want to zoom in, get again that circle in the plane that you want it in. We want the circle in this plane. So again, if you move your mouse, you're gonna get to a object that you don't want. So get the object that you want, and you have to click on the circle. But the command key in the Mac or the control key in Windows based laptops, you want to hit that key first and then move your mouse over and click on the center of that circle that you wanted. You'll notice it's now that left piece of wood has been blanked out for you. So now, but we need this side, the right side that you can't see of this bushing. So I'm going to click on the house. I'm going to rotate, maybe rotate one more time till we can see it. Zoom in. Okay. So we want this surface here. So again, I'm going to hit the, once I want this surface to mate with that piece of wood. So once I'm on the surface and I see the circle that represents where I want to mate, now I'm going to hit my command key. I'm going to click in the center of the circle. And now this is revolving this piece of wood around the bushing to show you that you have a revolute joint. I'm going to say OK. Okay, let's go back to where we were. Okay, Wonderful. So you have this mated. So now what you need to do is do the same with this one. Since we have this orientation, we'll choose this one first in our joint. So I click on joint, click on the type of motion I want. It's already chosen the revolute types of joints, so I'll leave it like that. Go to position. Now I need to tell it what two surfaces we're mating. So I come over here. First I have to click on select. Now this is the surface that I want to mate. I have my nice circle. I hit the command key and then click on the center of that circle. Okay, now it wants to know what the other surface is that I want to mate. That's the right piece of wood here. Okay, so now I find that circle, but I want this surface here. Hit the command or the control key, click in the center of it, and now you can see this bushing is turning inside that to indicate that we have a revolute joint. Okay, so now we're going to put in the axle. So I come over here to the waffle tool to show the data panel. I find the axle, here it is. I click on it, I right click on it, insert into current design. There it is. It doesn't need to move, so I'm just going to say okay, it's in the proper orientation. I'm going to close the data panel by clicking on the waffle. I'm going to pan over. Okay, so now I'm going to mate the end of the axle to this surface here in the bushing. So again, I'm going to click here on the joint command. This time I don't want a revolute joint. I want the rigid joint because I want this to be rigidly mated to that. Again, I click on the select. Now I find the end of the axle. That's perfect. Again, command or control key, click in the center of the circle. Now I'll go find my next surface that I want to mate to, next object. I find the surface. I hold on the control or command key and click in the center. Oops, it put the axle going the other way. So if I come to the bottom of this window, the joint window, I can click on flip the bottom, and now it's in the correct orientation. Now I can say okay. Okay, this is wonderful. We're almost done. But there's one little issue. Whoops. That if I rotate this, you see that it's rotating by itself. The axle is rotating by itself as it's not turning the bushing. So what we want to do is we want to do one more joint. Because the axle and the bushing are in the right location, I'm going to choose an as-built joint, capture position again, and now I'm going to choose the two surfaces that we're going to mate, this and this. Now it's shaking to show that it's a rigid joint, and I say okay. And now when I rotate this axle, the bushing turns with it. Thank you for listening. We'll continue with a new video to show attaching more objects from the automata assembly.